Hi there, folks. Welcome to another episode of Michael in the Backyard. What we got going on today is I got a Jeep with a little bit of a problem. I got my 2007 Jeep Liberty 3.7 liter V6. We were coming back from the lake last Sunday, pulling the old tracker boat, and about 3 miles from home, started running real rough. And when I stopped to turn right, it was taking off sluggish, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure we got a dead hole here on the engine. And the V6 was running like a V5 or a V4. And my check engine light was flashing, and it was doing all kinds of funky stuff, but I'm not going to sit on the side of the road on a 93-degree day. I'm going to drive it on home. Why? Because I didn't think it was that bad of an issue, and it turns out it's not that bad of an issue. But I will tell you what I found out. I put the if you guys have a Top Don or one of those scanners, it'll give you codes, and those codes help you a lot in diagnosing your own problems, as opposed to taking it to a dealer or a repair shop. You can save yourself hundreds, literally hundreds of dollars. So what I got was the first code that came up on it was a P2305. Probably why you did a search on this channel and found me. And we're going to tell you what the P2305 is. It's a generic. Let's see. What did I get there? Yeah. Let's start off with the P0302. Sorry. And it's a generic. It says cylinder 2 misfire detected. Well, that narrows it down out of the 6 to which one that's giving me my headache, possibly. And then a P2305 generic ignition coil B secondary circuit was the other code. So we had a P0302 and a P2305. Well, those, I pulled cylinder coil 2 out and plug out, and from outward appearances, everything looks good. Now, let's tell you about how many miles I have on this particular vehicle. I don't remember. It's over 160. Oh, hot in here. It's 100 and, hopefully that comes through, 164,189. So, and the scan tool I'm using was this Top Don Artilink 500. I'll leave a link in the description below. That's what gave me these codes. This will also, you can erase your codes with the same scanner once you've diagnosed / fixed your problem. Now I'm going to show you what these look like. Here's what one of those ignition coil things look like. Your spark plug goes in that hole. This goes down into the head, basically. It's got one nut on a stud that holds it in place, and your wiring plugs into here. This was my number 2 one. This is my number 4 one. I pulled both of them out, and there's a number 6 on this side, and then on this side, for ease of demonstration and showing you what to do, I'm going to focus in on this side, this one right here. And all the rest of them will be the same. Only some are a little more difficult to get to than others. First thing you're going to do is disconnect your battery so you don't have any electronics going on. Second, you can push down this plug right here and basically pull this off like that. There's your plug. Next, you're going to take a 10 millimeter. I got a deep wall, and I've got the extension because some of these I'm reaching down past stuff. This is not the case with this particular one. Back this nut off, put it in a safe place, and just like that, you can wiggle this back and forth and pull the whole coil assembly out. That's step 1. Pretty easy, right? And let's just make a note of 1, 3, and 1, 3, and 5 are good. 2, 4, and 6. 2 is not good, according to the readout. So these are not bad coils. You could just replace the one it says to replace, but in my practice, replace them all. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to reach down where we pulled that out of and reach all the way down there. And this is on this particular one is a 5/8 plug diameter. We're going to reach right down to here, lock onto that 5/8 spark plug, and that wasn't tight enough in my book. That one was actually quite loose. I don't like that, but we're going to fix that anyway. Once the spark plug's loose and your little rubber boot doesn't happen to, for some reason, pull the plug out of the hole for you, you can take your coil, I believe. I'm going to try this for the first time. Let's take your coil. Let's just shove it back down in there and use it to pull your spark plug out. Now, these are an iridium spark plug. As you can see, they're burning a very light tan to white. It's running perfect as far as that goes. Now, I'm replacing all 6 spark plugs while I'm doing this job. I'm replacing all 6 spark plugs and all 6 of these. Why, you ask? Well, that's an easy answer. I love that question. You guys are sharp today. You're asking some very good questions. Why would you replace more than just the bad one? As I showed you, the vehicle has 164,000+ miles on it. Everything on this vehicle has a lot of miles on those parts. Well, if the one electronic piece and you have 5 other ones just like it on the vehicle goes bad, how far behind are the others? You may go another year before you have a problem. You may go another week. You may have 2 of them die at the same time, and it's going to go into severe limp mode, and you're not going to be able to get home on it. And it's not good to drive it when it's doing that anyway. So you're looking at possibly a tow bill. If you have AAA, that's fine. You're going to get it towed. You're paying for that service, but you're going to also have to suffer the inconvenience of being towed. You're going to have to suffer the inconvenience of taking it somewhere if you don't fix your own stuff. So in this situation, I spent $148, I think $38 or $48. I bought all 6 new coil pieces, and I bought 6 brand new spark plugs. So we're going to replace basically everything you can do in the ignition system as far as the fire getting to the cylinder. We're replacing it all. Just that simple. Now, let's talk about what I bought. Here's the box of goodies. I bought on rockauto.com Walker. It's Walker ignition coil. And what does it look like? Looks just like this. It's actually a very beautiful looking part. I would give you the part numbers right there, 921-2002. Look it up on Rock Auto, though, for your vehicle to make sure you're getting the right one. As you can see here, we're going to do a little quick comparison. They look identical in just every way possible, other than this one's cleaner and newer. Now, 2 things we're going to do. Inside the box came with mine a little package of what I would say is called dielectric grease. Now, this has some funky little green, greasy looking stuff in here. And I'm going to pull a plug out here and stick that in there just for, you can see the green. They've already got some treatment on here to keep this from sticking. So you don't have to put the dielectric grease there. What you want to put that grease on is right here. You want to lube that O-ring up so it pops back down in there comfortably. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to make sure the gap is good on these plugs. Now, a lot of these plugs will come in a box. There's my other one. A lot of times you'll find a plug, they'll come with a cardboard thing on it. That's great. That helps protect this from getting banged up and that gap getting damaged. But it still doesn't hurt to check the gap on these. And if I remember correctly, these are supposed to be gapped at like 44 thousandths. I got a 45 thousandths here, and there's 44 right there. And it's perfect. It's perfect. So we'll check these as we replace them. So now we're going to get the spark plug back down in the hole. In my case, my rubber boot is missing out of my socket, and you don't want to just drop the spark plug blindly down in the hole. So I've got it on a magnet here so I can actually put it in there and give it a little bit of a twirl. But first, I almost forgot. I like putting just a little, well, you stay there, buddy. I like putting just a little bit of Never Sees on here. Just so when I have to do this again, I don't have the risk of having a stuck spark plug. Now I can slowly lower this into the hole. I can tweak it out a little sideways, leave the spark plug in there. Now I can go back in with my socket. Hand tight only here. I mean, I should say hand tight to start it, get it started in there. And I like to actually make sure it winds all the way down by hand. Then we'll put the old ratchet on there. And I'd highly suggest find out what your torque specs are and torque it to that. If this is the first time you're doing spark plugs, use a torque wrench. You don't want to strip these holes out. You'll regret it for sure. Now we're going to open up this little package of grease. And I'm going to put that around this area here. This does two things. It's going to let this slide in easier. And it's going to help this create a better seal. Keep the dust and dirt and everything else and water and any of those things out of it. Now all we got to do is stick this back in. It'll snap down in place over the spark plug. Once it's seated, put your little nut back on there. Give that nut a little snugging. Plug back in. Done. Cylinder number one's done just that quickly. Now, the goal here is to get all these replaced. Then I'll fire it up again. Make sure my miss is gone, because the miss was definitely dead holed for sure. And once that's done, I'll clear the codes. And then I'll take it out for a test drive, make sure everything's okay. So let's get after doing the other 5. All right, folks, just like that, we're done. That was actually quite easy. As you can see, we got all the new ones here. Boom, boom, boom. All 6 of them are in. All 6 spark plugs are installed. I wouldn't call it what I would call specialty tools needed, but I did use my 10 millimeter with a little bit of a swivel back on the back one, number 6. And I did use my swivel with an extension on number 6 to get the spark plug out. But, let's just call it, if your spark plug would come out with the rubber boot, great. If it don't, this magnet here, clutch. I could actually start them in there, pull the magnet off of it, and torque everything down. Now, let's fire it up. Well, there you have it, babies. Silky smooth again. All right, we got the gate to the old backyard opened up so we can get to the main street. Let's give it a run. See if we got everything fixed. Now, one thing I will do, just because these are new parts don't mean they're all created equal. I think everybody's had experience where they've had brand new parts if you worked on anything for any length of time. Because sometimes the brand new parts can fail. And it may be 1, it may be 2, maybe none. I'd love to see us get 164 more thousand miles on this set of plugs, or set of coils and plugs. Actually, I think the plugs you change, these iridiums, typically every 100,000 miles. On my Impala, I changed them at 124,000 just because it didn't give me any issues. And when it came time to do some other work to it, when I did the transmission, it's like, let's get that taken care of. We're back, baby. We got all 6 cylinders popping and going again. So that did cure the problem. I will go back and I'm going to test. I'm going to see if there's a way to test those coils to see if there should be a certain amount of ohms, a certain amount of something. See if I can discern one from the other when it comes to talking about the number 2. I tried to keep it separate from the rest and how they measure up to their other ones. And now I did not check these beforehand because they're new, but I could have. Relatively easy job. I wouldn't be scared for anybody to tackle this job. Tightening the plugs to the proper torque and getting a feel for that is very important because, you know, there's different people's strengths, and one person's snug is another person's stripped out threaded hole, and that's how that works. There again, something I check on the regular, and I don't know if you guys do that as well, is if there's an issue, you know, I would check my fuel mileage. A lot of times some of these slight issues that are catching up to you over time will be caught in fuel economy changes. Throughout the summer, like for instance, my Impala, it gets about 27.4 to 27.5 miles a gallon. And if it ever dropped down to 22 miles a gallon in the summertime, pretty much for any reason, it would tell me something's not quite right, something's giving some issue. This vehicle, it's hard to tell all the time because it's about 18 miles per gallon with no load on it, but it spends a lot of time with a trailer behind it, so there's that. All right, we're back in business. Reason this is so important to get this vehicle up and going again quickly as possible is for the simple fact I use it to pull my boats to the lake. I use it to pull trailers to go get things. It's my work truck. People might think that's kind of crazy that a Jeep Liberty can be a work truck, but look up the towing capacities of these particular vehicles, and the 3.7 V6 has some decent power. The drivetrain is pretty decent. The transmission is pretty decent. The transmission on this particular vehicle has a transmission cooler that is separate from the radiator, all by itself sitting in the front of everything. That's a big key, keeping your transmission cool while you're towing things. That's the life and death of a transmission, is transmission temperature. You can cook your transmission if you're not careful. Well, I'm very pleased with everything I see here. Now, something I've been wanting to talk to people about or tell you guys about and get your thoughts on. Don't be afraid to leave comments down below. You know, they don't make things like they used to. And then there's the other side that, thank goodness they don't make things like they used to. And I'll give you some good examples. Older cars from the 50s, 60s, 70s, when they started getting 60, 70,000 miles on it, 80,000 miles on it, the thought process, those engines were getting tired because of the types of machine specs they were held to, the engineering behind it, and the capabilities of the manufacturing processes. They would wear out. The types of materials being used, they would wear out prematurely. They'd start using oil. Now, using oil is not wore out. You can add oil for a long time on a vehicle. But then you look at today's cars. You know, I've had a 93 Lumina. You know, cars in the 90s, quality really started coming around in the 90s for a lot of the domestic cars, and some of them have fallen off since then. And Toyota's always had a great quality record. But look at the amount of miles you get out of a vehicle today, and you know, people aren't afraid to buy a vehicle with 160,000 miles on it and drive it for another 10 years. It happens. Now, when you buy something with higher mileage on it, like this Jeep has higher mileage, you're going to have the little nickel and dime things. Your major mechanicals, though, are running a long time. Your alternators obviously last a lot longer. Fuel pumps last longer. Everything just seems to last longer. Now, an example of I wish they made things like they used to, most of you that are in my age group or anywhere 50 and older have been through this, maybe even 40s people in their 40s. Washers and dryers, refrigerators, freezers. Those are some really great examples as why don't they build those like they used to? Well, I don't know why they don't. My guess is because they wouldn't make as many sales, and these things they make as a perishable, throwaway, non-repairable type item. Now, most of them can be repaired, but by the time one's 5 to 7 years old, there's other stuff that's just completely, you know, you got to rebuild it if you want to get the same life out of it again. I personally, in my younger years, we'd buy washers and dryers that were 15 years old because somebody wanted to get a new washer and dryer. We'd buy those old washers and dryers that are 15 years old and use them for 5 to 6 to 7 to 8 to 10 more years until we decided we wanted something newer. You don't hear of that happening anymore. A lot of you my age had parents, I guarantee you, had parents that had a refrigerator that lasted 30 and 40 years. That was not uncommon. But get a refrigerator, a washer, dryer, or a freezer to last 30 years today, that you buy today that will last 30 years. I'm guessing unless you pay through the nose for it and buy some really expensive, high-end, very well-built stuff, that's not going to happen for your normal, let's just call it your average American person is trying to keep their food cold and their food frozen and their clothes clean and dried. Anyway, that's just, what are your thoughts on that? It's just, food for thought type of thing. Well, the good news is the Jeep is just back in business, baby. I love it. We need to put some gas in it. We're down to almost a quarter of a tank. I always like to keep my vehicles, I don't like to go below a quarter of a tank. It's harder on the fuel pump when it's running out in the open air in the tank versus staying nice and cool and getting splashed, cooled by the gasoline sloshing around in the tank. All right. Enough is enough, folks. This is Michael saying if it ain't broke, fix it till it is. Don't forget to check out future videos. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Leave some comments down below. That helps drive up my algorithms and helps the channel grow and go. And so I can continue to bring you more awesome content and quality content as well. Thanks. You guys have a good one. I'm going to hook this thing up to a boat trailer and make it do its work it normally does. Love it when a plan comes together.